Yo, what's good, people? You back at it for another episode of What's the Word with LJ Mental Podcast. As always, I'm your host with the most, LJ. Yeah, we back up in here for another week. So, this week I wanted to focus on something, especially with it being Black History Month, too. And it's crazy. I don't believe in coincidences, I believe everything happens for a reason. Um, but yeah, it's funny that we still have an issue of in America. I'm sure other countries got their issues too with equality and racism, but this so-called land of the free that they say with the United States still still has issues when it comes to racism and equality. I mean, obviously you got LBGT rights, you got women that are underpaid in the workplace. But I want to focus on my people, and that's the black folks right now. And Brian Flores, an NFL coach, who was just fired not too long ago, brought up something very interesting. So let me get into my word of the week, what it is. So my word of the week is equality. And as I was just saying regarding Brian Flores, he brought up something very interesting that I think not only plagues the professional athletes, professional coaches in sports, but I think it plagues corporate America as well, in the workplace in a lot of different places. I'm sure it's happened I'm sure it's happened in Hollywood. Sure it's happened in the record business, but definitely corporate America, people with everyday jobs as well, for sure. And Brian Flores, what he talked about, I think it raises a very important issue. And a lot of people think he's sacrificing his job for possibly a greater good, similar to when people were upset about with Colin Kaepernick. But this is something different what Brian Flores is addressing. Because Colin Kaepernick, obviously, he addressed the unarmed killing of black folks and minorities by police officers. And the fact that it still plagues America is a problem. That was the main issue. Colin Kaepernick. People were really mad at that. Well, mostly, mostly, most of the angry folks were white folks, and I don't know why. Um, People were mad at him, but it is what it is. I mean, I do know why, but I'm not going to get into that right now. We already know what happened with that. But what Brian Flores is talking about is something a little different. And he was fired from the Miami Dolphins. He was the Miami Dolphins head coach. And he's been on like a tour. He was on CNN. I believe he was on ABC News, or not news, but I believe he was on ABC as well. So a bunch of different networks he's been on addressing, and he's suing the NFL because of the discrimination in the workplace, and he's brought up some racism as well, and he seems like he's throwing and he brought up a well-respected coach. Some people consider him the greatest coach ever in the NFL, Bill Belichick. And a lot of people, and it doesn't surprise me because we've been dealing with this, and I'm sure black coaches been dealing with this for many years. And Brian Flores is unfortunately probably going to be the only coach to really talk about it, because a lot of the other coaches are scared they won't get a job, probably. Obviously, you got families to feed, and this is their profession, and they don't want to be blackballed like what could potentially happen to Brian Flores. Now, he brought up some text messages that's seen with Bill Belichick and some other coaches, other executives. He addressed a lot of different things, a lot of different people. Now, some other people have come out and spoke against Brian Flores. Now, I believe Brian Flores, and it doesn't surprise me because he was not a bad coach with the Miami Dolphins. maybe they were looking to something else. And it's funny because the player that even when he first got hired, and looking at players he wants to be drafted on the team. And obviously, if you know anything about football, the most important position is the quarterback. And funny, during the draft, that guy they have with the Chargers now, Justin Herbert, that guy's pretty good. Brian Flores, who the Miami Dolphins, they drafted before the Chargers, and he's like, yeah, I want Justin Herbert. But the GM, and I believe the owner, they wanted Tua Tagovailoa. They wanted him. A guy who I really don't believe in Alabama quarterbacks. I don't believe most of them aren't very good. They have good teams around them. I mean, I'm not big on college sports, but I do kind of know how Alabama college program works a little bit. And I'm just going to give some examples of good things he's wanted to do that people in the organization go against him. He wanted Justin Herbert, who's actually very good, but they took Tua. And it's funny, after seeing Tua play for a while, a lot of people was not sold on the guy. And Brian Flores is one of those guys who's still not sold on him. And it's funny that the quarterback veteran, Ryan Fitzpatrick, they had on the team, he wanted to play him more. And apparently he took him out for Tua. Now a lot of people are trying to figure out if that was over his head for him to start Tua over Ryan Fitzpatrick. There's a lot of speculation about that, especially when Ryan Fitzpatrick was doing well, and then they put Tua in. Last year, Miami Dolphins, they finished, I believe, 10-6. This year, they were on a major losing streak. They lost 7 straight, and then they won 7 games straight, and they finished with a winning record. So I believe 9-8 is their record this year. I mean, they didn't qualify to play the playoffs, but given what Brian Flores, the head coach at the time, had to work with, that was a pretty great feat. The fact that the team really wasn't all that, for real, all that great, and back-to-back winning records, and I believe probably if he didn't get fired, the Miami Dolphins next year would have made the playoffs. I don't believe that outside of the Buffalo Bills, I don't believe that division is too strong. I mean, you had the Patriots who made the playoffs, but I'm not too sold on them. Anyway, Brian Flores is a good coach, a really good coach. And he has a right to be angry. And unfortunately, it's probably not going to get the support he deserves as far as the discrimination. And it's funny that recently, now, a few weeks ago, once Brian Flores got fired, and I believe David Culley is his name, was fired for the Texans, a coach, and some other coaches. And at a time, there was only one black NFL head coach in the NFL, and that's Mike Tomlin for the Steelers. Now there's a rule in place that bring any of these coaches you bring on, you must interview minority candidates. Now they don't say you have to hire them, but you got to at least give them a chance for an interview to get the job. Now some people think there's some flaws with the Rooney Rule, and there could be, but I mean, what else can you do? At least the Rooneys, the Art Rooney, Dan Rooney, the Rooney family, the owners of the Pittsburgh Steelers, are trying to do something. And there's actually been some organizations in the past that have done some things that were, I guess, at the time considered out of the box, by bringing on black coaches and there was a time where there weren't really many black players in the NFL. And then they saw like, oh wait a minute, this gonna win me some games. Let me get some more of these black linebackers. And even now they got black. There was a time where there wasn't any black quarterbacks. Now there's, you could argue some of the 3 or 4 to 5 best quarterbacks in the league are black. So, but it's still an issue that as far as what black people have to deal with in this country. And I just wanted to take this time to use this as an example with Brian Flores. The things he's pointing out is still an issue today, all throughout the country. And I think it's important to address it because it's really a shame. We still talking about equality in the workplace and having to deal with issues. And there's a lot of new now. Obviously, these other folks aren't going to come out and say that, oh yeah, we're discriminating against black people. We're going to hire. They always use the term, oh, we're hiring the best candidate, knowing damn well they ain't the best candidate. And it's funny, after this Brian Flores lawsuit, that now I guess there's technically what they would call 3 black coaches. One, because the Houston Texans job now is occupied by Lovie Smith, who is a black coach who's had a history. He's gone to the Super Bowl with the Bears when he was a head coach there, with quarterbacks who are really not that good at all. He was let go from there, and then went to the Buccaneers. Now he's with the Texans. And there's another guy who I'd never really heard of, who I guess he's half black, got a shot at a head coaching job as well. So I guess there's 2.5. Some people say 2.5 to 3, because the one guy is biracial. But yeah, and it's funny that they did that, because before the Texans were going to hire Lovie Smith, they were really looking at Josh McCown, a former quarterback in the NFL. He was mostly a backup. But right now, he's a high school coach who's not even a head coach. He's an assistant. And he doesn't call any plays for that high school. He's an assistant. And there were teams that were strongly considering Josh McCown, who doesn't have any NFL experience as a coordinator, no offensive coordinator, no defense coordinator, no quarterback coach, none of that. None of these high-ranking positions that's obviously under a head coach. And they were really thinking about bringing in this guy who doesn't have any experience in the NFL, which is considered the most prestigious professional game in the United States. And they're gonna bring in this guy? Like, really? Over all these qualified, not even just black coaches, but yeah, we gotta bring that up. You're gonna bring in this guy over these guys that are qualified? Like, I don't even know if Eric Bieniemy has gotten a call from the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not sure if he's gotten a call. Some people argue like, oh, after how the Chiefs lost, he won't get a look. But that's a whole nother story. I believe, a lot of people believe that they hired Lovie Smith, the Texans, to save face. That like, oh, your lawsuit ain't true. Like, and even with a lot of these black candidates, like I brought up the Rooney Rule, that which is you have to interview minority candidates. You have to at least give them a shot. And it doesn't seem like some of the organizations go by the rule, and some of them do, just to say like, okay, all right, let's get this over with, knowing damn well they're not gonna give them a real shot and hire them anyway. It's a shame, because the best candidate should get the job, but that's not the case in a lot of cases. It's just not. And it's really a shame that it's a tragedy that we still deal with something like this so-called free country that we have, which is obviously it is free, and there's countries that are worse. But I mean, we obviously know the history of how this country has treated black people. We've been treated worse than I believe any other people in this country. We built this country for free. It's really a shame that we still deal with all these issues. Um, it was once in the Constitution that black folks weren't 3/5 of a human being. So I mean, even though the amendments have been changed, obviously there's still a lot of issues that plague. I mean, we obviously are a lot better than we were in the 1800s and in the 1950s, but we still have a lot of issues we dealing with today, still 2022, and it's really a shame that we still have to address equality issues, and that's probably always going to be the case. Unfortunately, some places in this country are better than others at actually doing well with whoever the best candidate is, whether they black, white, Hispanic, Asian, whatever they are. But it's really a shame that we still dealing with this. And I thought Brian Flores is bringing up. I think it is still an issue, and I honestly only believe they hired Lovie Smith, the Texans, and the biracial coach. I don't believe he has any head coaching experience like Lovie Smith does, but Lovie Smith at this time was considered one of the top candidates. So it seemed like they hired him just to they try to make Brian Flores look crazy, like he don't know what he's talking about. But he does. Brian Flores definitely knows what he's talking about. And I don't know how that lawsuit's going to turn out. Will he ever get another head coaching job in the NFL? A lot of people, I don't know if he ever will. But I believe what he brought up is very interesting. It's an important issue that we still have, not just in the NFL. Not even just in sports, but all through corporate America, all through like that black folks don't get fair shots. They take us at face value. We have to adapt and change, not necessarily change the people we are, but it seems like we have to adapt in every environment more than anybody else does, as far as how we conduct business, how we go about things. Like we have to conform in different ways more so than anybody else. It's crazy, and it's unfortunate that we still have to deal with this. And I know for a fact that I've experienced racism where I haven't gotten a fair shot at job interviews I've been on in the past. Not every company, because some companies I believe are on the up and up, and I've gotten good shots before. But there's been companies that I know for a fact that I've been discriminated against, and the best candidate was not hired. I wasn't given the best shot to succeed in certain situations. So I've personally experienced something similar to what Brian Flores is talking about. I know other black folks who have experienced the same thing. So I strongly, when I first heard about this Brian Flores situation, I was doing a little research on it. I mean, I'm like, man, I could actually relate to this. Obviously, I've never been a head coach in the NFL, but it just shows you don't. It plagues this country still, as far as inequality and everyone not getting a fair shot to succeed. Whether you let go from a job, when you're doing well, and they say, oh, they want to go in a different direction, or they're giving you, or you don't even get a good shot to get a job in the first place. You never really had a real shot anyway, because they're gonna most likely to hire someone white, even though they might not be the most qualified. And that's not to say that there aren't great white candidates, because there are. There's some white folks doing some amazing things out here. My point is, not asking for a handout. It's just a damn shame that we still dealing with this issue of inequality and black folks not getting a fair shot. I can't speak for Hispanics or the Asian community because I'm not part of that community. I'm sure, I know for a fact that they are discriminated against as well. But I can only speak from black folks, from personal experience, and black folks I know. I know for a fact that we've been discriminated against a lot, and we still do to this day. It's unfortunate. This country come a long way, but we still got a long way to go. It's crazy that we still dealing with this. So I wanted to make an emphasis, and that was my main topic. Normally I have like a couple things I talk about, but I really wanted to put a lot of emphasis on this today because it's an important issue that needs to be addressed. And I think a lot of folks can probably relate to what Brian Flores is going to. They might not want to say it for whatever reason, but it's a still important issue of equality, and I want to know what we can do about it. If anything, I mean, I know there's been strides of things we've done before, and I know some people starting their own companies. I have my own company. Some people create your own opportunities. Some people can't do that. I mean, yeah, I think it's maybe we can create our own opportunities. I know there's more than one way. I know there's an old school saying that I've heard from older people. Say there's more than one way to skin a cat, right? And in this situation, there's more than one way to win, more than one way to succeed, more than one way to get ahead. And besides starting your own company, what's some other ways that we can stop this inequality in the workplace? I mean, we can address it. Like, I'll do it today. I'm talking about it today. But what action items can we take to actually make change to get this thing done? That's what I want to know, because it really is ridiculous that in 2022 we still dealing with this bull. I would love to, anybody listening, to see like what's some steps you can take. Like I said, I mentioned one, you can create your own opportunity, start your own business. With some other ways, like if you do want to get a job working for someone and you possibly are extremely qualified, but you know you're not going to get a fair shot. I mean, obviously you can apply for other places as well who might not deal with, or you might get the opportunity, you might not have to deal with the inequality. You do get a fair shot, but it still happens all over the place in this country, and it's frustrating. And when Brian Flores came out with that, I felt him. I got it. So, yeah, I mean, not to say because there's black folks out here thriving. There's people of all races out here thriving. But my point, like I said, going back to my main point, it's still a major issue as far as inequality. We gotta fix it. With women as well, and other races as well. And it shouldn't be about race, but unfortunately it still is. If we keeping it all the way real, it still is about race, unfortunately. So that is gonna be it for me today. I'm about to get up out of here. So, but yeah, on a positive note, I got some things coming, things in the works that I'm working on. So yeah, we just gotta keep it pushing. I believe everybody's stronger together than apart. We should be stronger to try and get your goals accomplished, rather than trying to be to stop particular people from having a fair shot and possibly being on your team. That could be beneficial to you. We need to be more together. Be positive about it, make things happen. So yeah, I'm about to get up out of here. So yeah, remember, stay safe, stay positive, definitely stay sucker free. I'm out.